Hello everybody, this is Kay and welcome to my channel, Junking with Gigi. I have had this empty journal cover for a long time. I had taken the blank pages out of it to use in other journals, but this cover in itself is so beautiful that I've been hanging on to it, and it was a blessings journal of sort because it's got a little phrase or poem on the inside of the front cover, and on this little flap of the back of the closure, talking about blessings and gratitude. So I was thinking, with the Thanksgiving time of year ahead of us, that I would make this into some type of a blessings journal. So that's what I'm going to work on today. The cover, that I'm not going to change the outside. It's so beautiful already. Have any kind of writing on it to cover up or disguise with anything else. I'm going to leave it alone. But the first thing I'm going to do on the inside of this is I'm going to take I've got some heavy duty canvas, and I'm going to cut this down to cover just from here to here, so I can kind of this spine section that is, that's where I took the previous pages out of. So I'm going to cut this down just to cover these two areas. Got that cut down, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of fray all these edges a little bit by pulling out some of the threads, just because I really like the look of that frayed edge. I've got this all frayed around the edges and ready to glue down. I think I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac today, just because this is a little bit heavier of a canvas, and sometimes the PVA glue, I just feel like maybe the Fabri-Tac would hold it down a little bit better. So I'm going to use that today. And I'm going to start on this bottle's almost empty. I do have a backup next to me if it runs out, but I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to try to put the glue not on the frayed part, just on the part where, where the frayed part meets the rest of the fabric, so that this doesn't show through. Fabri-Tac can sometimes be a little bit shiny even after it's dried, so I kind of don't want to put it in places where it might show through. So I'm just going to start on this edge and work my way across the cover here. And I've also got my bone folder here, which I can use for kind of pushing it down into those folds of the cover. Alright, that's all glued down now, and I gave it a little bit of time to dry. I also wanted to point out another neat thing about this cover is that it's already got like a little magnet closure built in. I don't know if you can see that. Once I get the signatures in there, it'll hold this up more and it'll work better, but I thought that was kind of neat too, but it's already got a little bit of a magnet closure built in there. So now I'm gonna set that aside. I've pulled out a variety of papers here to use for the signatures, and I had to trim some of them down. This cover is only gonna accommodate a signature that's 8 inches high, so I did have to trim down the height of these pages a little bit. And I've got a variety of pages. There's some manuscript paper, a couple of hymn pages, a couple of pages from an old calligraphy instruction book, some parchment paper from an old pattern book, and then a few pages of my coffee dyed paper. So I have to get these folded and ready, but first I wanted to take these 2 hymn pages because they are a little bit fragile. I'm going to reinforce the fold here with some washi tape. So I'm just going to take, I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm just going to run along this fold and then put some washi tape on it to reinforce it. I'll go ahead and put the washi tape on both sides of each of these pages too, just to give it a little extra reinforcement, because these are very thin, very fragile, old hymnal pages. I got those 2 pages ready. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes now folding the rest of my papers and getting them ready to compile into signatures. So I've got those compiled into 2 signatures. That's what I'm going to put in this Blessings Journal. It's not very thick, so I just put 10 pages into each of these 2 signatures. And then the next thing I'm going to do is make my holes for sewing in my signatures. So I already made myself a little bit of a template here. I didn't write... Let me write top on here so I can be sure. And I put this end at the top every time I go in with one of my signatures to poke my holes in my signatures, so I make sure everything is all lined up. And I've got, all right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get a couple of clips to put on my template here. I'm going to get it worked into that spine area. Get it nice and even with the top and bottom, and make sure it's centered in that spine space. And then I'm going to put a clip at the top and a clip at the bottom just to hold my template in place. And you can see where I've got my holes, my dots marked for where I'm going to put my holes for my signatures. Get my pokey tool, and I've got my little piece of foam underneath here, and poke my holes. think I will use this kind of deep goldish colored embroidery floss to sew my signatures in. I think that color just goes nicely with this journal. I'm going to use the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and I am going to do this off camera because I struggle doing it on camera. I have done videos before where I showed how to do this, and you can find all kinds of videos on YouTube for tutorials on doing the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So I'm not going to do this part on camera, but I will be back in a moment to show you this journal after I get these signatures sewn in. Alright, so here it is. It's pretty thin. I just have the 2 signatures in there, and I didn't do a whole lot of embellishing. And I'm not sure I'm going to. I'm actually not real sure what I'm going to do with this. I have a Blessings journal of my own already, so I might take this with me. This weekend I'm participating in a another fall festival of sorts. So I might take this with me. As you can see, I got my 3-hole pamphlet stitch done with both of my signatures. That magnetic closure is so neat. I wanted to point out that, so where I poked my holes in my spine, when I poked through from the inside, what I did was kind of push some of those papers out. So I'm just going to take a little brown fine tip marker I have here, and I've already done it on that hole, but I'm just going to kind of color in those white spots where that paper pushed out. And you can see that literally just makes that disappear. So I'm going to do that on all of these holes, just where that white paper from the inside kind of got pushed out. You see it just kind of disappears with putting that brown marker on it. So there we have it, a beautiful old, excuse me, repurposed journal cover with a neat magnetic closure and 2 signatures sewn in. It's a great way to repurpose an old cover like this. So that's it for today's video. I appreciate you watching today. Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and feel free to share my channel with anybody that you think might like it. Have a blessed day.